Growing up, it always felt like my older sister and I lived in two completely different worlds, though we shared the same roof, the same parents, even the same last name. She was the golden child, the one who had it all figured out. A high-powered finance professional with a six-figure salary, sharp suits, and an air of confidence that left little room for compromise. Me. I was the younger sister, scraping by as a freelance artist, hustling for every dollar, trying to carve out a life that never seemed quite good enough in her eyes. From the moment I walked through the door, I could feel it, the cool, almost icy gaze she reserved just for me. It wasn't outright cruelty, at least not always. Mostly, it was that subtle, heavy disdain she wore like a shield, a constant reminder of my lesser status. She'd snort when I mentioned my latest gig, roll her eyes if I borrowed her kitchen utensils, and always insisted that I keep my distance from her things. "Don't touch my stuff," she'd say, voice clipped, eyes flashing with irritation. It wasn't just about possessions, it was about boundaries she set to keep me beneath her. Our parents, caught in the middle, never seemed to know how to fix the growing gap between us. They tried to encourage us to get along, to support one another, but I could tell they secretly admired her for her success. After all, who wouldn't? She was the daughter who made them proud, the one with the fancy apartment downtown, the sleek car, and the big bank account. Meanwhile, I was the one they worried about, the free spirit, who wasn't quite ready to settle down. The tension always simmered beneath the surface, but it boiled over one cold Friday evening. Our entire family was preparing for a big gathering, the kind of event where everyone shows up dressed to impress, sharing smiles and catching up on lives that feel miles apart. Mom was bustling around the house, arranging flowers and setting the table, while Dad kept glancing at his watch, clearly eager for everything to start on time. In the middle of it all stood my sister, draped in a sleek black dress that hugged her frame perfectly. Around her neck gleamed a stunning diamond necklace, its sparkle undeniable. I'd seen it before, it was worth thousands, she had told me once, proudly, a $7,000 diamond necklace, a gift to herself for climbing the corporate ladder. It was more than just jewelry, it was a symbol of everything she'd worked for, everything she wanted the world, and maybe me, to recognize. I was helping set the dessert plates when suddenly, a sharp scream cut through the room. "My necklace! It's gone," she shouted, panic twisting her usually composed face. Everyone froze. The chatter died. My heart skipped a beat. She spun around, eyes wide and accusing. And before I could even process what was happening, she pointed directly at me. "You took it." "Don't lie," she snapped, voice cold and accusing. "No, I didn't," I said quickly, shock and confusion swirling in my chest. "I swear, I didn't touch it." But she wasn't listening. Her face hardened like stone. "You're always sneaking around, always taking what's not yours. You're jealous of me, aren't you? That's why you stole it." I opened my mouth to protest again, but her words hit me harder than any slap. And then, out of nowhere, she shoved me roughly, the force of it knocking me back a step. "Pay me back," she hissed. $7,000. "You'll pay." My cheeks burned with humiliation. In front of my whole family, she called me a thief, a liar, a failure. I felt the weight of every judgmental gaze, every whispered doubt. Mom gasped. Dad stepped forward, hands raised to calm the storm. "Let's not jump to conclusions." But my sister cut him off, her voice rising with anger and authority. "I know what happened. She's trying to ruin me, to drag me down." I wanted to scream, to run away, but my legs felt frozen. The house, once warm and inviting, suddenly felt like a cage, one where I was trapped under a cloud of suspicion and disdain. That night, as I lay awake in my small bedroom, the echoes of her accusations haunted me. Was I really that worthless in their eyes? Did they all believe she was right? But deep down, I knew I hadn't touched that necklace. I would never betray them like that. Still, the damage was done. The rift between us wasn't just about a missing necklace anymore. It was about respect, trust, and a sisterly bond breaking under the weight of pride and misunderstanding. The days that followed felt like walking through a storm with no end in sight. My sister's accusations didn't just linger in the air, they filled every room, every family conversation, poisoning the very walls of our home. She wielded her success like a weapon, and I was the unfortunate target. At every family gathering, she made sure everyone remembered the theft. She'd recount the story in vivid detail, her voice dripping with outrage and betrayal. How could she? How could she steal something so valuable from her own family? She'd ask, looking around the room as if daring anyone to defend me. The pressure was suffocating. My parents, caught between loyalty and doubt, tried to mediate, but their words often felt hollow, unable to bridge the growing divide. My father's eyes, once warm and encouraging, now held a quiet disappointment that broke my heart more than any harsh word. What if she did take it? My mother whispered one night, when she thought I wasn't listening. Maybe she's struggling, and this is her way of getting by. Those words stung worse than any insult. The very people who were supposed to stand by me seemed to question my integrity. My sister's demands escalated. She insisted I pay her back the full $7,000 value of the necklace, immediately. No payment plans, no understanding. You owe me, she said flatly. No more excuses. I tried explaining my financial situation, how I barely made rent most months, how freelancing didn't bring in a steady paycheck. But she waved it away like I was making excuses. You just don't want to take responsibility, she sneered. One evening, things reached a breaking point. The family had gathered again, this time in the living room, tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. My sister was pacing back and forth, voice raised, throwing accusations like daggers. I'm done pretending this is just a misunderstanding. She took my necklace, and she needs to make it right. I sat there, feeling smaller than ever, my throat tight with frustration and hurt. I didn't take it, I said quietly but firmly. Lies, she spat. You're a liar and a thief. The room fell silent. I saw the shock in my parents' eyes, the conflict on their faces. But no one defended me. And then, in the heat of the moment, she slapped me, hard, right across the cheek. The sharp sting exploded through me, and tears welled up despite my best efforts to hold them back. Maybe this will teach you to stop stealing from me, she said coldly, her face inches from mine. Humiliated beyond belief, I stood up and left the room. I retreated to my bedroom, locking the door behind me, trembling. The person I was supposed to trust, my own sister, had just struck me in front of everyone. That night, I lay awake, wrestling with a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. How had it come to this? Was this the family I'd always believed in? But amidst the despair, a flicker of determination sparked inside me. I wasn't going to let this injustice define me. If my sister wanted proof, I would find it. In the days that followed, I kept my head down, careful not to give her more ammunition. Quietly, I started piecing together any evidence I could find. Our house was fitted with security cameras in the hallways and common areas, installed by my parents a few years back for safety. I asked Dad if I could review the footage, explaining it was for a personal project, and he agreed without suspicion. Sifting through hours of grainy video, I looked for any sign of the missing necklace or unusual behavior. The search was exhausting and frustrating, but then, late one evening, I found it. There, on the camera outside my sister's bedroom, was the unmistakable glint of the necklace. She was holding it, carefully examining it, then slipping it into her handbag. My heart pounded. She hadn't lost the necklace. She'd taken it herself, and forgotten. I watched the clip again and again, each time more certain. This was the truth. But the truth came with a cost. Would I confront her and risk tearing the family apart forever? Would anyone believe me, given everything that had happened? The house felt colder than ever, the silence between us heavier. Yet, beneath it all, I knew that I had to stand up for myself, not just for the necklace, but for my dignity. The storm was far from over. Holding my breath, I replayed the security footage one last time. There was no denying it, my sister, the very person accusing me of theft, had taken the necklace herself. The image was crystal clear. She lifted the sparkling diamonds, inspected them carefully, then tucked the precious piece into her handbag. But she forgot one crucial thing: she left a digital trail. I felt a surge of relief mixed with anger. Relief because I had proof to clear my name. Anger because the betrayal cut deeper than I'd ever imagined. The next day, I steeled myself. This wasn't just about a necklace anymore, it was about truth, justice, and reclaiming my dignity. I gathered all the evidence I could: the security footage saved on a USB drive, timestamps, and a series of text messages between my sister and a close friend where she nervously mentioned checking the necklace and misplacing it temporarily. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands trembling as I prepared to face the storm I had avoided for weeks. When my sister walked in, radiant as always, I didn't hesitate. "I know the truth," I said quietly but firmly, holding up the USB. The necklace wasn't stolen. I saw the footage. Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of panic crossing her face before she masked it with a cold smile. "You're lying," she said sharply. "Trying to frame me, just like you always do." I shook my head. "No. I'm done being blamed for something I didn't do." Here, I pressed play on the TV. The video showed her, unmistakably, handling the necklace and putting it in her bag. The room went silent. My parents froze mid-step, eyes glued to the screen. My sister's face drained of color. That's not what it looks like," she stammered. "I was checking it. I didn't mean to lose it. This whole thing is your fault. You've been trying to sabotage me." "Sabotage?" I echoed, disbelief swelling in my voice. "You accused me of stealing, slapped me in front of everyone, and demanded thousands from me. And now you're saying I'm the bad guy." The tension in the room was suffocating. My mother's eyes filled with tears, while my father looked as if the ground had been pulled out from under him. "You have to apologize," I said firmly, locking eyes with my sister. "Not just to me, but to everyone you hurt with your lies." She looked away, the weight of her own actions finally breaking through the walls of denial she'd built. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to. I was scared. I didn't want to admit I lost it." Her apology was fragile, but it echoed loudly in the room. The family absorbed the truth, stunned and shaken. But even as the dust settled, something had changed irrevocably. The sister I once knew, the confident, untouchable woman, was now vulnerable. The bond between us, frayed and stretched thin for so long, felt like it had finally snapped. I wanted to believe this was the beginning of healing, but deep down, I knew the road ahead would be rocky. Because some wounds don't heal with apologies. They fester. And the price of broken trust is higher than any necklace's worth. The silence that settled after the confrontation was heavier than any argument or accusation. My sister's apology hung in the air, fragile, hesitant, almost too late. Days passed, but nothing returned to how it was before. The family dinner table, once a place of warmth and laughter, now felt cold and strained. Conversations were clipped, eyes averted. My sister avoided me, and I avoided her. We shared the same space but lived in separate worlds. She had lost more than a necklace that day: her pride, her standing in the family, and the respect that comes with honesty and humility. Even though she said sorry, the damage was done. No one forgot the accusations, the slap, or the weeks of turmoil. I wrestled with my feelings. Relief that my name was cleared. Sadness for what our relationship had become. Bitterness at the needless pain caused by suspicion and pride. I realized something important. Sometimes family doesn't mean flawless love or unbreakable bonds. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, and full of scars. But dignity, that was something no one could take away unless I let them. I started to rebuild my life on my own terms. Slowly, I found peace in distance. I focused on my work, my passions, and the people who saw me for who I really was. Occasionally, I wondered if our sisterhood could ever be repaired, if time and healing could bridge the gap. But deep inside, I knew some wounds run too deep to forget or forgive quickly. The necklace was just a symbol. The real loss was trust, and trust isn't easily won back. In the end, I chose to move forward, stronger, wiser, and fiercely independent. Because family is important, yes. But self-respect is priceless.